By the time you watch this video, Apple Silicon Macs will have made up more than 50% of all Macs currently in use. And this is really exciting because it represents a turning point in gaming on a Mac. And today I'm going to tell you why the more M1 and M2 Apple Silicon Mac chips there are, the better Mac gaming is going to be. So if you haven't subscribed already, then please consider subscribing and you'll be able to keep up to date with the latest Mac gaming news. So if you didn't know, Steam performs a monthly anonymous hardware survey. And in October 2022, we finally reached an Apple Silicon Mac figure of 49.89%. And this figure is a huge improvement because back in June, it passed over 40%. And eventually, virtually all Mac computers are going to be Apple Silicon. So why is this a big deal? When developers create software and games for a specific platform, their lives are made much harder if they have multiple different variations of processors and GPUs to account for. For example, if you're a developer of a AAA game and you wanted to release on Mac, the average Mac user might have an AMD GPU, they might be using NVIDIA, or very commonly they would be using the Intel integrated graphics. And this would make developing and supporting games on the Mac platform far more complex. Not only do they need to get their heads around supporting macOS, but they also have to deal with this very fragmented hardware base. However, with the advent of the Apple Silicon Mac, there is now a single architecture and platform for developers to aim for. And this is going to make Mac ports of games far more appealing, and we could potentially see a lot more games being released on the platform in the future. So the second reason is going to be minimum GPU performance. So like I mentioned before, Intel Macs could be using anything from an Intel integrated GPU to a very powerful discrete AMD GPU. However, with the advent of the base M1 chip, we're now getting graphical performance which is far better than the base Macs from the past. These baseline Macs can easily run AAA games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Metro Exodus, Baldur's Gate 3, and even the recently released Resident Evil Village. And this kind of graphical performance wasn't really possible on base Intel Macs of the past. And despite the fact that we have far more powerful Apple Silicon chips, including the M2, the M1 Pro, M1 Max, and even the M1 Ultra, you can still reliably run many of the games at slightly lower settings on the base M1 Mac. This means that the 50% Apple Silicon Mac percentage represents a pretty huge potential customer base. And developers will now know that the game that they release on a Mac was going to work on the majority of Mac hardware. So for example, the recently released Resident Evil Village works fantastically on the M1 Max chip, but also performs admirably on the base M1. And in the future, we also have some other big titles coming along the way, including Grid Legends and No Man's Sky. And one of the big reasons why this is happening is due to the Apple Silicon unified platform. And hopefully when these games are successful on Apple Silicon Macs, then this will attract the attention of other developers and publishers who will begin to see Macs as a more serious gaming platform. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. If you agree or disagree with what I've said in the video, then please make sure to leave a comment. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.